Good morning. It's time for reading today. And guys, before we begin, go grab a piece of paper and a pencil. So pause the video, go get a piece of paper and a pencil. You have to have it for what we're about to do next, okay?
All right.
So
go
ahead.
Now. This week, we're still asking and answering questions about a technical text. We're ordering those steps, paying attention to sequence. Sequence and order are words that mean the same thing, and we're going to work on understanding how sequence helps us understand the text.
And, if we don't do things in the correct sequence, then it won't turn out right. And so in order to do it correctly in sequence, we have to understand the text.
To follow the directions.
So we're going to do a follow directions test. So you should have your piece of paper and a pencil. Miss Taylor and I are going to read this to you. You can read it, follow along too, but listen and just
follow the directions.
Follow the directions, okay?
Step 1, read everything before doing anything.
Step 2, put your name in the upper right-hand corner of your paper.
Step 3, circle your name.
Step 4, draw 5 small squares in the upper left-hand corner of your paper.
Step 5, put an X in each square.
Step 6, put a circle around each square.
Step 7, put an X in the lower left-hand corner.
Step 8, draw a triangle around the X.
Step 9, call out your first name when you get to this point of the test.
If you think you have followed the directions up to this point, call out, I have.
11, say, I'm finished.
12, now that you have finished reading carefully, do only sentences 1 and 2. Let's see if I can go back.
Okay. If you were in class with us, we would have you hold up your paper and let us see what it looked like. Your paper should only have
your name. And that's it.
Because that direction 1 said to read everything before doing anything. And then that last direction said only do steps 1 and 2. Read everything and put your name on it. Did you follow directions?
So why is following directions important?
Well, I have a really good example. I was baking this weekend, and I was making some strawberry cupcakes. And I made strawberry puree. And then I was supposed to mix my strawberry with my butter. And it said to let your strawberry puree become room temperature. But I was hurrying, and I was like, it won't matter. I made strawberry Dippin' Dots. And it did not work, and I had to throw all that out and start again.
No.
Because I even read them, but I thought, it won't matter. It did. Somebody smarter than me knew when they wrote the recipe what they were doing.
So it didn't turn out right if you didn't follow the directions.
No, I threw it away.
Yeah. So following directions helps you complete whatever activity correctly, even if it's just filling out an application to play on the basketball team. If you don't fill out all the information and submit it in time, you won't be eligible to play. So you have to follow directions to complete activities. How do authors show sequence in technical text? When you pick out the recipe?
It was a numbered list. I mean, that helped me. And sometimes authors use those sequence words first, next, then, later.
So sequence is just the order of the steps or events.
Sequence is the fancy vocabulary word for order.
Some signal words for sequence you might see include some of these. Well, we won't read all of them, but obviously those ordinal words, the first, second,
next,
third, all of those, then like next, after that, then when the strawberry puree becomes a room temperature, then add the butter,
Before you put in the strawberry puree, let it come to room temperature. The before sometimes I think is a tricky signal word.
But when you see several of these words in a text, it's usually indicating sequence. Occasionally, these words can be used for other purposes, but most of the time, particularly when there's more than one,
And especially if you're looking at technical text.
it's sequence. So this was from that one of those fall art craft epic books that we looked at last week. But just again to review the sequence, move us down here. This author used numbered steps to show sequence, and since this text is kind of, it doesn't go like in
Right.
down in paragraphs or whatever, those numbers are extremely important to help me
And
make sure.
the author even add that text feature of circling
Circling
them to draw
Mhm.
your eyes to that, make it easier for the reader.
1, 2, 3, and then 4 is over here, 5, 6, 7. So when I look at these, go ahead.
No,
Where are you going?
no. I was going to do something silly. Never
Okay.
mind.
When you look at these steps in sequence, you can ask or answer questions about the sequence. So if I look at what do I do right before I paint the clay yellow?
Okay, well, first of all, I've got to paint the clay yellow. I'm going to use the text feature of the photographs to help me. I see that doesn't get yellow till over in here. So I'm going to look at this step first instead of reading all the steps. Paint the clay yellow. That's step 6. So Ms. Milam asked me what happened before. I'm going to back up. Now, step 5, press the small flat circles of clay onto each side of the lion's body. Press the thin tube of clay onto the back of the lion's body. Leave to dry overnight. She said right before I paint the clay yellow. Well, right before, I'm going to let it dry overnight.
Yeah.
There are really 3 different
There
things
are.
that I'm doing in step 5. I'm pressing the small flat circles, I'm pressing the thin tube of clay, and then I'm letting it dry. But right before painting it yellow, I'm leaving it to dry. What do you do after you press the circle of clay onto the pointed end of the cone?
So I've got to press the circle of clay onto the pointed end of the cone. I know we're pressing, that's the flat circles, that's the thick barrel, the circle of clay. So she said, what do I do right after? So press the circle of clay. So I'm going to have to go, this was in step 2, and that was all I did in step 2. I'm going to go to step 3. I'm going to press the thick barrel of clay onto the other end of the cone. So you have to find the first thing we're looking for and then go before or go after when we're answering those questions. And we'll keep working on that in class and at home and for the next couple of weeks or so. Today, what you all are going to do is a couple of different activities. This first, when you open the Google slide for the Wednesday activity, you just have a couple slides to practice with sequence words. So just this one, you're sorting. There are some sequence signal words over here, and there are words that are not sequence. So you're just going to sort the words that are sequence. First, obviously, we know that was a sequence signal word, so we would drag that over there. The next slide, you're just going to order the pictures in the correct sequence to make chocolate chip cookies. So just look at the pictures, move them up there in the correct order.
Easy peasy on that one.
Yeah. Now, this next part, it's not hard, but it's a little more complicated on what you're doing. This is why we want you to really pay attention
right here, okay? Really listen.
What we've done is taken a text that was a paper that we would have in class used crayons and highlighted and colored on, but, when you're at home and we can't do that. So what we've done is we've added parts of the text on a slide, and then what you're doing is at the bottom. So you don't need to go to present mode because then you can't do what you're supposed to do. The top part of, and you can kind of see it's in this text box, this top part is the text. The bottom part is your directions on what you're doing.
You're going to be able to click in that text.
Yes, and you might
be careful to not delete your text, and you can undo edit. But listen, you need to pay attention because if I delete some stuff and then I do 3 or 4 more things to go back and get it, I got to undo the work I already did. So click carefully.
Just
okay?
be very careful when you're clicking.
And this is one of those things Ms. Milam and Ms. Taylor are still looking for. What's the best way to
to help you all learn doing this virtual.
Able to do this? Yes. So just be patient with us and let's try it.
We'll try it, okay? But move this arrow here at the top to point to the photo that shows what the finished project will look like. Should be easy enough. Highlight orange the heading that tells what supplies are needed.
And Miss Milam, I'm not sure if we said this or not, but I'm going to say it again.
Mhm.
Everything you need to answer these questions on this slide,
Will be
that text is on
this.
this page.
Mhm.
You don't have to go to another page. There's more to this text, but there are no questions that on this page that require you to go on. You do just this page
Do
until
this
you've done those
page.
first four things there.
All right, so highlight orange the heading that tells what supplies are needed. Remember, headings are little titles. So I'll help you out. Supplies. Oh, another word for that would be materials. And look, that came above this bulleted list.
So let's go ahead and just, Miss Milam, we're going to put our cursor there in front of it.
When I have to make my cursor, and then
there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it with your trackpad on your Chromebook, or if you put your cursor in front of that M and you hold down the shift button, and then you can use the arrow keys on your computer. And that kind of lets you control it a little bit more. It's easier for me on those Chromebooks to use the shift key and the arrows than it is trying to have two fingers and drag it.
And when we say highlight, because this is we're highlighting a different color, but you have to highlight it with the cursor, or highlight it this blue.
You're choosing your text. You're selecting the text,
and then you come up here. Remember, it's by the capital A, that highlight, and then it said orange, so I'll just highlight it orange, and then move my cursor. So, and you'll just have to do that again. Like this one here is highlight yellow. What you should do to the cans before. Let me move this. You use them. You think that might be in the steps, but look up there where it talks about the cans. It tells you to do something to the cans. So you can.
And don't highlight everything about the cans. Highlight what you should do to the cans before you use them. Don't highlight how many.
Whoops. Okay. Same thing. Now this next part, this is the what to do section of the text. So, if you looked at this, this is part of the text. So what do you do? And there's 4 steps on what you do. Read it, and then just highlight we asked you to do.
So there's nothing to type.
Nothing.
The way you're answering your questions is you're highlighting. We're going to grade it by looking at, did you highlight the correct words, okay?
And then this is just like a little extra what you do after you've made your telephone can, and a couple things to do also. So just read the directions, do the best you can, highlight, but just be careful that you're highlighting correctly, because we're practicing looking for the right before, the right after, and identifying text features. All right, good luck, and we will talk to you later.